Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Lionel. I'm your host for LG Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Zatima. This is season 4, episodes 3 and 4. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe if you are new to the channel, and you can leave your comments below. Now let's get into these episodes. All right. So we see in the first scene Zach and Fatima in bed. Zach has woken up because of Fatima snoring, and you see him trying to look up, catch her, trying to sneak out of the bed, but Fatima wakes up and wants to know what's up. Where you going? He said he got to go into the office and all that good stuff. And she was like, well, you were supposed to be here because I was supposed to do all this. We were supposed to have a dinner for his partners and all that. He said, yes, I know that. I just got to go in here for a little bit and I'll be back and I'll help. Fatima's fussing like a couple. It was so realistic to me. Fatima was just going off and ranting off. Of course, probably some of that has to do with her pregnancy, and it was funny to me, and it was enjoyable. Just like I said in the last couple episodes, they've been more fussing and arguing over couple stuff instead of all this gigantic stuff like Karen and whatever else is going on, another baby mama and all that, or stuff about Gary. It just seemed very realistic at this point, so I'm enjoying it. Then they started talking that this was supposed to be like some type of potluck. Of course, Fatima and them are making like the main stuff and all that, and really trying to figure out what Preston and Bryce are going to be making. And Zach says that he feels like Bryce isn't going to put anything with raisins in there, but he thinks that Preston is. I said, Lord Jesus. So Zach then heads onto the office and speaks with Bryce. Okay, Bryce got a little beard and now they're stopped with the cute cut, as he had before. He's got it all combed back and all that good stuff. Bryce isn't bringing anything as far as food. He's going to be bringing the red wine. He said that he was too busy cooking for Angela, and Zach was like, cooking for Angela for what? He was showing her some stuff. Oh, you've been showing her some stuff, so what's up? He said it's not like that. Basically, he was helping her out with stuff. I don't think he told her about he was able to get all those nudity clips off of the internet. Now Zach feels like Angela's playing him, and Bryce was like, no, she can't be doing that. You got to be more assertive, because it looks like you are still caught up in feelings with her and you want something to at least start back up. And he's giving him little tips on how to do it, and he said in front of him, practice what you're going to say to Angela. And then of course Bryce starts talking, and then Zach was like, no, say it with your nuts. Oh, I said, Lord Jesus. So basically Bryce said, I got hoes and you gonna respect me, blah, 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 blah. I'm not no housewife, blah, 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 blah. And then Preston's coming in, and because he's such in the flow of being assertive, he says, Preston, get these nuts. Of course, Preston is just not really into that. Anyways, Preston has this deal of getting a commercial space. It's a big deal. It's like no other, And then we find out that Bryce likes raisins and stuff as they're talking about the potluck and what they're bringing, because Preston's going to be bringing a gumbo. So Bryce would be the culprit if you actually had him make something. He'll put raisins in your mess. Okay. Angela and Fatima are on the phone. I don't know who called whom. Fatima's like, look, I got a lot of stuff to do, but Zach had to go to the office and he was supposed to be here to help me with all of this, and he's not here. So then Angela says, I'm going to come by to help you, blah, 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 blah. Bryce is coming over. And then I think at this point she got upset. Like, what? He ain't supposed to be over here, blah, 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 blah. But again, I'm loving how she has... Actually, to me, I feel like pregnancy has softened Fatima in different ways. She's more vulnerable in ways. Yes, she's still strong and all of that, and she'll beat you up. Shout out to Deja. I think that she's just more, you see a lot more of a different side to Fatima, in my opinion, the softer side. Let's see. Oh. At Belinda's, Nate is cutting his toenails, and he's doing this in the living room. I'm like, ugh. And there's just a bunch of toenails. I'm like, what the is going on? Anyways, Belinda's grossed out, and she was like, don't you gotta be somewhere? Don't you need to be with your wife? You know, it's been 3 days. Oh, it's been 3 days. Da 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 da. I think he said, why don't you hang around your friends? But you know, if I get around them, Nathan gonna say that they're gonna force me to have to work my issues out with my wife. At this point, Belinda's done with them and kicks him out. Nate said, you know, you're gonna regret kicking me out, da 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 da. Then Belinda becomes fake dramatic crying, and oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. That was some of the funny-ish. Now, I don't do Belinda, but the actress, you played that off and was cracking me up. I said, okay. So Nathan don't have a home, and we go right into the barbershop with Nate with his stuff. They basically like, why don't you just go talk to your wife? I do know that Lori wants to talk. Well, that's great. Go work it out. Well, he says, well, what she calls, what I say is talking really equates to him laying hands and punching. I mean, you did cheat on her. You're still cheating on her. You're still married, sir. You're still cheating. I'm not saying that fists should be involved, not agreeing to domestic violence. I think that you need to have an honest conversation. Do you really want to fix this marriage, for one? Not just for a place to stay. And you need to take accountability, and you need to change. But she's seen this type of energy out of you before. So I don't know, what do you want? I don't even know if you want to be in your children's lives. That shouldn't be negotiable, but you know, that should be a non-negotiable, but people these days are just do stuff. But have a conversation with her. If you want to get back with her, get back with her. But I don't know. Get a job. Get your own place. I don't understand why you just want to just be a bum from Belinda. You know she's gonna kick you out. They were talking about ways at how to divert from Lori possibly beating him up. Go have some makeup sex. But he was saying, you know, if we do that, I'm gonna need some testosterone pills. But aren't you cheating with Belinda? What are you doing over there? Are you meaning that it's gonna take a lot of sex for her to finally calm down? Ugh. Would y'all like to see Nathan just work it out with Lori? I think that Nathan has been just missing his storyline. Of course, a lot has been being Zach's right-hand guy and being upset with Fatima for taking his place. But I would like something different from him at this point. Later on, Nate leaves and Tyrone asks Tony, are you okay? Because it looks like Tony's just really just not with it. He said, yeah, but I feel bad because of what I did. And Tyrone says, you know what? I stuck my neck out for you in regards to all this, and I need you to not make any trouble for us at all. And you're gonna, you gotta stop feeling guilty about this. You were just defending yourself when you took this life. Yeah, we find out that Tony took a life, which I think we basically knew. We were really figured out. So it is what it is. Because I think that's when he came to the shop trying to rob. However, it was on the hush hush, whatever. And that's why he's feeling guilty, and he delivered that money last week. Let me see. Fatima and Zach. Zach comes back home, and Fatima's just really just stressing and fussing and all that. And Zach was like, stop stressing. We got this, da-da-da-da-da. They talk a little bit about Angela and Bryce. Zach feels like that Angela's been playing Bryce. And Fatima's like, well, these men have been using Angela. They've basically been using each other. Zach is like, look, I got a lot of this other stuff, and make sure that you're not, I think she was talking about, make sure you're not, I think this has something to do with Angela and Bryce, but make sure you're not pushing yourself. Make sure you don't push. I think something about push the issues and all that good stuff. Oh, Zach was saying that about Fatima. I'm sorry. Then Zach was like, look, I need you nice, loose, and juicy. Basically just trying to get her into a more relaxed state. And she said, you know what would make me do that? If you put away the laundry. Take out the trash. And he was like, are you trying to put me on duty? Da, 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 da. You know what makes you be on duty? This. Meaning the ring. I said, come on, Mrs. Taylor. Let it be known. I can put you on duty. So then the guests start coming over. Angela and Bryce. Bryce is trying to be assertive in front of Zach and trying to tell Angela da 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 da. And Zach was like, wrong timing for the stuff that he was trying to say. It was crazy. Deja comes over, and Fatima's upset because you weren't supposed to bring nobody, or at least I wasn't aware. Deja was like, you know, Preston is teaching her how to ride horses. What horse, Mr. Preston? The last scene that we see is Jeremiah. He's getting high, and he calls out to his mom, and the next thing you know, Miss Gladys shows up in her white and looking good. So that's how it ended, and I guess we gotta see how things go for episode 4. I'm gonna continue on with episode 4 in this video. I usually break them up, but I think I got what I needed. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So of course we are back at the Taylors. Fatima's pissed that Deja was here, da 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 da, and Fatima's ready to kick her out. And Zach was like, look, I got it. Look, calm down, da 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 da. Deja's like, I'm his guest, da 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 da. While Zach is trying to calm down Fatima, he ends up saying, calm down. One thing about a woman you don't do is say, calm down. So anyways, he said, I got it. Deja, looks like you're gonna have to leave. Well, Deja, and then she said, yes, Zachy. And then Fatima was like, let me get my gun. Get my gun. Anyways, she was ready to leave, or she was now in a place that, okay, she'll leave. But she said, you know, I really only came over here to offer my doula services. Doula is this emotionally supportive woman that helps out pregnant women and all that. Fatima ended up softening her heart and allowing Deja to stay. Then they all sit down and just talk about a little bit of life. How's work going? You know, it's a little bit, you know, Zach's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. And Taylor said, Zach was like, you know, soon that office firm is going to be Benson, Jones, Leland, and Taylor. I've already said this in my sister's videos, if you watch sisters. If not, cool. But I do have a playlist for them too, so you can go over there, check it out. Anyways, they start talking about this commercial property, and Preston thinks that there's something about it in regards to possibly as to why they wouldn't get it, and it's because of discrimination. Preston goes further and says that what is probably behind all of that is the mafia. Different, if like the mafia that can be racist at times, that they may not want a black person or a person of color to be renting out or have the space and all that good stuff. So all that stuff could come into play. And then Bryce then is able to talk about his privilege a little bit, or disguises it. He has his privilege up front, but disguises it as that there's a responsibility on people of color. Even though Bryce is still a person of color, and he's not pure white. So it's just like, sir. He was saying, you know, I think that Zach has been able to come through a lot of stuff, and he's been able to come through the ranks through his bootstraps. And then Fatima's like, oh, you're not going to do that, as play this bootstraps thing and not act like nothing comes into play in regards to racism and discrimination, because Bryce went on to say, you know, that Zach should not be using too much as far as a racism cry. And Fatima said, you can't erase racism. Bryce ends up apologizing, and then they end up having a toast. I thought that was a great conversation. I love that there was adult conversations. Can y'all see the difference in a season? The dialogue is totally different. It's always this type there has been this thing with I saw with a lot of Tyler Perry shows, and I'm not here to talk about him like that, but I'm just trying to bring out what I'm feeling different. There's a lot of cadences of this call and response. Did you do that today? What? Did you do that today? You know, it just kind of like, did you open that mail? What mail? That mail. What it say? It could get that way sometimes, as far as this back and forth talk that's just not really going anywhere. Anyways, somehow I got on the subject of Deja dating. Oh, Angela was talking about the gumbo. Like, you're gonna have to give me that recipe. And then Deja was like, you're gonna have to find your own recipe because that's my man. Da, 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 da. And Preston said, no, we're not dating. I'm just helping you. Da, 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 da. Ride a horse. He basically said, I'm just not dating anyone right now. I don't have time to be serious. He's emotionally unavailable. And then Deja said, you know, I'm emotionally unavailable. No, not I'm. She says emotionally unavailable is my type. And then she sticks out her tongue. I said, Lord Jesus. Angela says that she's also emotionally unavailable. And then at this point, Bryce wants to speak up about, like, look, well, since you got all that going on, I'm not coming over to fix the air filters. And Angela's like, well, why? Da 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 da. Because it seems like you're just using me and playing me for a fool and all that. And I love you and I want to be in a relationship with you. And then Angela flips it and says, oh, so you were just doing all these nice things for me because you wanted to be in a relationship? It's like, that's why you should have just made your intentions up front. Why are you doing all this? And that's why I don't really fool with people like you and da 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 with anybody, really. So Fatima got on Bryce and was like, look, you should have been up front. If you couldn't really handle this, then you should have just not had tried to be friends with Angela. Bryce apologizes and Angela also apologizes. I said cool because this wasn't a one-sided thing. So we find out that Deja is not certified as a doula. At this point, Fatima wants her out yet again. She's just been supporting any of her stripper friends that all of a sudden are in labor. You're like, what in the world? And then dinner is over. Everyone's leaving. And we find out Miss Leslie is staring out the window into the house. She done changed her hair to look like Fatima. And then she turns back around and starts saying, this is my family. These are my friends. These are my family. These are my friends. She gets herself back together. It's quite cuckoo over there. Next thing you know, we see Malachi. Malachi is at his job and Leslie calls him. Malachi was like, well, why are you calling me? And she said, you know, I called to check up on you. And Malachi was like, we broke up about 4 months ago. Yeah, I know that we broke up. I was giving you a chance to think and time alone. And it looks like you're still stuck on her. So then Malachi was like, well, where are you at? And then all of a sudden, Leslie steps out of a car and into the parking lot where she is, where Malachi is. And we see that she has a baby bump. Crazy. And Malachi said, you can't be pregnant by me. She said, yes, I am. He says, no, I can't have any children. And then Leslie was like, well, why can't you accept this miracle to be yours? And he's like, Leslie, I don't know, da 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 da. Is it because I'm not her? So she was like, you know, I can be here for you. Da, 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 da. Let me be that. I can be what you think that Fatima is for you. So then he said, well, we need to get tested. Tested in the womb. We're not waiting until the baby comes out. She said, okay. I didn't know that you could do that. And then next thing you know, she kind of grabs on to Malachi and then she fakes fall. And then she does it again. And Malachi just leaves her there. Oh my Lord. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But I thought both of them were crazy. I don't understand how it switched over to just her. But anyway. We then go back to Leslie's place. We see Leslie take off her baby pump. And then she sits down and we see this whole shrine made up of Fatima. We seeing old stuff and pictures and all that stuff. Obsessed. Back at Zach and Fatima's, they're having some sex time. He's giving her oral and all that good stuff. And he's struggling to see her face. And she's like, what's going on? Nothing. I just couldn't see your face. And at that point, Fatima was just out of the mood. And he was like, well, what's going on? I can still do it. She's like, no, I'm out of the mood. And of course, he asked, I thought you got pregnant women get extra horny while they're pregnant. And she's like, some women don't. But you got to learn how to make a joke. So then Zach asked Fatima, like, are you mad that I went into the office? And she ended up confessing, yes. Like, when are you gonna have some time off? He's like, I don't think I'm gonna have any time off because I got to hustle. And if I don't hustle, we don't eat. And she's like, well, that's not true. And he said, I shouldn't have said that or made it seem like you don't contribute anything at all. But I got to make sure that I have everything in place. You need to make sure that you are committed. And Zach was like, I am committed, and I need you to keep your promises and make time for your family. I love this about Fatima. I love this. I'm sorry. It's just cool. Then next thing you know, they decide to go on and have sex. We see that there is a camera staring right at them. And we go back to Leslie's place. And while they're having sex, Leslie is getting off. As if she's Fatima's having sex with Zach. I said, oh my God. Now, I ain't seen that much obsessed, but that's like Lifetime movie obsessed. It was pretty good. I like both of these episodes. Tell me what you thought. What about this whole... You think she's about to steal a baby or something? Because this is very Lifetime movie coded, I don't know what's going to happen. But anyways, I enjoyed myself. Let me know about this whole Bryce and Angel situation. Do you want them back together? I don't know, because I don't really know that much about them. And they kind of Angela's all over the place. Bryce is all over the place, So I don't know. But we shall see in the next few episodes. Zach did have a dream about Michael being taken away from him, as we set up for the next shift of probably the next few episodes as to what's going to happen. And he woke up in fear and all that. So yeah, that's all there is. Please be sure to like this video. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate you. And share, subscribe, leave your comments below. And until the next video, peace.